Hi, welcome to the Witty Entrepreneur. I am Jennifer Bassman, the Witty Entrepreneur. I am so excited to be here today, and I have a special guest. And this is the thing that I do every week is I leave the sound on my phone. I keep forgetting to turn it off. So yeah, there we go. You know, in total Jennifer style. No, literally go back to any one of my Facebook lives and within the first 30 seconds, oh, I gotta go turn that off. I'm nothing but if consistent. Yeah. But thank you so much for joining me today. We have a special guest, Jordache Johnson. Give me a second and I will introduce him. But first, just in case you've never joined us before, I am Jennifer Bassman, the wittyentrepreneur.com. I am a lead.com, wittyentrepreneur. What is that? JenniferBassman.com is my website. But this is Thursday. Something's not clicking today. Sorry about that, gang. But I'm a leading authority in recovering from burnout and helping people learning how to create boundaries. I am a certified Clifton Strengths business coach. And I love helping other business owners discover what their strengths are so that they can build a business around their strengths and they end up doing more of what they love. That is super exciting for me. I help business owners with their feelings of overwhelm, with their fears of failure, so that they can thrive and own a business, run a business that they truly enjoy. And I am about to be a published author within a few weeks. Yes, here it is, the book cover. Hopefully you can see that. I got to figure out how to blow that up. But Stop Being a Doormat will be out on Amazon pretty soon. You can buy it as an ebook or a hardcover. I suggest both, honestly. I think both copies are imperative. You should buy both. But Stop Being a Doormat is going to be a great workbook to help you learn how to create boundaries and then not only create them, but learn how to enforce them. That is equally as important. So there we go. But back to our whole reason for being here today is Mr. Jordache Johnson. And Jordache, oh my gosh, he cracks me up. And if you are not jazzed and full of energy by the end of this, I mean, you're caffeine, Jordache. That's what I describe you. I just want to call you caffeine. You actually have a bio that describes who you are and what you do other than just being caffeine. Jordache is a digital business architect who is obsessed, and that's true. He is obsessed with helping online experts fill their audience full of their perfect customers, increase audience engagement, and unlock new income streams so that you, the business owner, can have the resources needed to grow your business. So pumped to chop it up is what we're going to talk about conversational marketing. I'm sorry, I was like kind of reading on. But he is an expert in messenger bots. I actually just listened to him yesterday give a workshop on how to use chat bots and messenger bots, if that's something that you're interested in, something that you are interested in adding to your business, to your digital presence. I know I am. After listening to him yesterday, I got very excited about them. So you may be seeing a witty bot pretty soon. Yeah, what? Yeah, that's exciting. He is also the CEO and founder of Funnels and Profit, a self-proclaimed whiteboard junkie. As you can see behind him, he does look like he is an expert at that. We may have to have you come back and do a whiteboard presentation for us. The ways of the whiteboard. Yeah, and he's also, and this is my favorite thing, my favorite factoid about you is that you were an 80s baby.
Yeah.
With a hippie mother who named him after her favorite pair of jeans, Jordache jeans.
Yep. True story.
They did have kids, Jordache jeans. Because I think they did have a pair.
They did, because I've had pictures of me decked out in Jordache gear. My mom had fun dressing me up in Jordache gear.
Oh my God. You've got to post some pictures of that if you haven't already. I need some of that. I need some of that. But Jordache is here not only to talk about his jeans, but he is here to talk about the importance of building relationships, and in particular, business relationships. I think that is something as entrepreneurs we tend to overlook, especially if it's something that comes naturally to us. If it's something that we just by nature, engage with others, learn how to create some momentum, learn how to create connections. And you used an interesting term yesterday. It was relationship marketing. I believe you used the term relationship.
Conversational marketing.
There's conversation marketing. I don't know why relationship marketing stuck with me, but there's a new term. We're going to coin that. We're going to, yeah. But he's like, great.
Yes. No. It's out there.
It's out there.
It's out there.
But when I first got to know Jordache, one of the things that he kept saying over and over and over again in our conversation is how important building relationships is, not only to his business, but anybody's business. And he asked me a question. He asked me what I was doing to build relationships, to which I went, stuff. But building relationships, building rapport with people, for the most part, comes pretty natural to me, except if my mouth gets in the way. That can be a problem sometimes. We're going to talk about that because I have some questions directly related to my sarcastic sense of humor. But Jordache is an expert at this, and I'm so thrilled that he's doing this live with us, because I think we could all use a reminder in how to build relationships, build friendships, engage with other people. Because it's probably a lesson we haven't thought about since maybe like preschool or kindergarten. Or socialized, right?
Yes, it's definitely overlooked.
Yeah. So my first question for you is, I'm really just kind of curious about this, is how it occurred to you, or how you discovered the importance of building and maintaining relationships as it pertains to business, not just in your personal life, but as a business owner.
Yeah, totally. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm definitely honored to be here on your live, talking to your audience. And yes, I love talking to you anyways, because you are hilarious. We have so much fun when we chat. So,
thank you.
But yeah, no, when it comes to like relationship, the first time I would say when I really started grasping the importance, this is gonna sound funny, but I'm telling you right now, I was working at a snow cone stand. Right. And I'll tell you, I was back in high school, right, working at a snow cone stand.
Dream job.
It was 2 blocks from the beach, and we have a little beach here in Texas. It's whatever. But right. So we had fun. It was fun, right, doing that. And the importance of like anybody can come get a snow cone, right? Like you can come buy a snow cone, get it, right? But the importance that we had people coming back, like I worked there for 2 summers, coming back the next summer saying like, I want to come see y'all. Like it was me and 2 of my buddies, because we had fun. Like it was a memorable moment. It was a memorable experience when they came and bought a snow cone, right? We had water guns. We had like a PlayStation and TV in there. We had music playing, right? Like we had events, like we had little games out there. It also helped that we were next door to a liquor store, right? So it was like, we made sure that everybody had a good experience, right? And so when I saw that, I wasn't the owner of the snow cone stand, but I saw how much money was flowing through this little snow cone stand, which was this guy that like, it was his little silo things like, hey, I got this. I'm gonna hire some of these guys and you guys go run this and I'll just do that. And I started realizing like, oh my God, like, and don't get twisted, we had competitor snow cone stands in a small little town. Don't get it twisted, right? But I say that because it's like we were always slammed and we were always busy because we created that experience, right? So when I started realizing that as a young, I always had a little side hustles, a little side business, but as an entrepreneur in training, I call myself then, like I started realizing like, it doesn't really matter if somebody else is selling something else. If you can give somebody a great experience when they interact with you, they're going to be drawn to you. They're going to come back to you no matter, even as I've gone through my path, even if you can charge a higher price than what the cheapest one out there is, they're going to come to you for the experience, whatever you're selling, your product, service, right? And I was talking with a client the other day, and I always say like, your product it's a fingerprint product, right? Because everybody has a uniqueness to that product, right? And that uniqueness is the person behind it. And that person behind it has to be relatable, and you have to be able to build relationships and rapport with these people. And in our world, we're both, online entrepreneurs. I have to be able to build relationships through a computer screen. I can't go up and talk to people and shake their hands and, and sit down and have a conversation. So understanding the importance of that's how you attract people to you, which AKA your business, is the most important thing that you have to have in your business. I always say like your relationships is like the blood running through your business, right? Because you have to have relationships on the business side. You have to have relationships on your customer side. like business, B2B, right? Partnerships, whatever, B2C, your consumers, your customers, like you gotta have relationships with that. You gotta have relationships with your employees or internal. Like, so no matter what, if you have bad relationships or you don't understand how to build relationships and even take it to the next level, build relationships with people with different personalities. You're gonna at some point gonna hit a point in your business that's gonna stall the growth because either you don't have enough relationships to help you scale with partnerships, affiliates, whatever else, and you've already planted those seeds of that you can start taking withdrawals from that relationship. Or on the flip side, you have customers that you don't have relationships with, so you started losing track of what's going on in their head, what transformations are they having, all these things. You're losing that ear to the ground that you probably had when you were just getting started, because that's how you got to know about your product. And if you lose that, it's going to run out of steam at some point. We can talk more about that later, but that's really where it comes down to. It's like relationships are one of the most important things that you can start doing, and you can start today, and it's that 1% better every day, right? If I can do 1% something more every day at the end of the year, I'm 37 times more than where I was at the beginning of the year, right? So if I can start, and we can talk specifics, but like to start planting the seed, just start engaging with people, start having conversations with people, whatever, that might turn into a full-blown business relationship 6 months down the line or a year down the line or whatever. And we move in internet years, so we know things move fast. So that's, that's where it's like at that young age when I was at that snow cone stand, it's just been like, and I have many other points in my life that have really the trajectory of my business and where I'm at today, it would not have happened, right? Because I've had points in time where people have just trusted or just taken a chance on me just because we have a good relationship outside of business. And then we got them good results. And all of a sudden from there, it just started going from there. Right. So it's just, I can't emphasize enough how important it is. And I'm sure we'll dive in deeper.
We will. I want to go back to something that you said. I think it was such a great point. Not only was what I wrote down while you were talking was relationship is the blood running through your business. Relationships are the blood running through. That is totally going to be a quote on my page, and I'm actually going to put it up on my wall because it's true. Like the way you explain that and the way that you pointed that out, that, you not only have, relationships with your customers, you got to consider the relationships that you have with your employees, with your vendors, just all the different people that interact with your business on any level.
100%.
But the thing that I want to go back to that you said is that you are the thing that attracts people to your business. And to me, what I kind of heard in your explanation that reminded me of a constant problem for a lot of business owners is charging what you're worth.
100%.
And that unique experience that you bring to the table, and people will pay a little bit more money because it's you and it's somebody that that they trust. And I wanted to pull that out because I know that I see that in business groups all the time when people are talking about how much they should charge for whatever their service or their product is. That is really something to take into consideration, just how unique and special you are.
110%. Because here's the thing. When you're not, we'll deviate to pricing real quick for a second. Right? Because when you're pricing your products around the tools or the service or the problem that it's solving, there's value to that, right? There's definitely value to that, right? But you also got to understand, like I run an agency, right? So like if I have to bring a client, like you brought up messenger bots, if somebody comes and works with us on their messenger bot, they also understand that they're getting somebody who we build funnels. So we have expertise in funnels. We have expertise in generating traffic and Facebook ads, etc. We may only be doing a messenger bot for them, but we are doing and setting them. And it's really every client, it becomes a coaching session as well, because we're also educating them from things that we know that work in our niche, and educating them either, hey, here's some things to think about for your challenge, or here's some things to think about for this, right? So we are bringing more value outside of just this one tool. And the reason, I'm only talking from a service perspective because that's what we do with the agency. But from that, it's because if you're only focused, if I'm just saying, hey, we run Facebook ads. Well, everybody and their mama runs Facebook ads. Right? You're a commodity at that point. And then when you're talking to a potential customer, they're like, well, cool. Like, well, I'm just going to choose the cheapest one or the one that has that fits in my budget because you guys are all the same to me in my head. Right. And so, and I'll tell you, like, even right now, like to be 100% honest, like my friends in college used to call me Jordan Johnson, right? And and like that, they used to go Jordan, like this is call me Jordan, right? And so like and I'm talking about standing out here, and this is what I'm tied to, because when I started interviewing for jobs my junior year of college, I'm sitting down and at first I'm like, well, Jordan Johnson's like the most common freaking name in all of America, like Jordan and Johnson. Like those are very common names. So I'm like, how do I stand out? Like, how do I make sure that you remember me, right? And that's why I'm like, no, I'm going back to Jordache. Like you're gonna know me as Jordache Johnson, right? Because it's a unique name, and then I can tell a little story around it, right? So it's the same. It all ties back to the same thing, is being able to create that unique experience, whether it's your building a relationship or selling a product or selling your services. If you can add additional value outside of just that one core thing that they've actually attracted to, it's going to keep them around longer. It's going to keep them coming back, and you're going to be able to charge the true value of what you're worth. You're not a commodity anymore.
Yeah, very true. You're special.
You are.
Thank you for expanding on that.
Sorry, I get going talking about price, and I'm like, oh, we're talking about business now. I love it.
Kind of why I brought it up. I think it's a great way to think about what your time is worth, what your energy is worth, what you're worth, which is always a difficult discussion that people have with themselves when they're trying to figure out what to charge. So that's where, relationships come into pricing, and where you need to feel more comfortable with raising that price, charging what you're worth. What impact do relationships have on your business? I know you're a digital business, and we do have some brick and mortar people that watch as part of our audience as well. But just what impact do they have they had on your business as you built the business?
Totally. So I'll tell you, like, I'm going to kind of paint the picture of how it fits in my world, right? And hopefully this can add some value, right? But like in my business, if you want to call it my business relationship world, right, I kind of put people, there's like 4 buckets of people, right? And it's like my business friends, right? My friends that are either they're ahead of me, or we're on the same level, or, they're in business wise or whatever, right? And that's kind of a bucket, right? Then I have like my digital business or board of directors, my digital BOD, right?
Yes.
And those are the people that I'm learning from, and they're helping me identify my blind spots and give me guidance. And those are the people I'm like, that really kind of pushing me to continue down my journey, right? And then then I look at it in the B2B bucket and then the B2C bucket, right? And so those are kind of the 4 buckets. And so when I look at those 4 buckets, like how they like the big impacts, and I'm just going to talk about recently, right, is really from the business friend side of things. Like that's something I've been really focused on in the last probably year and a half, because I was a lone wolf entrepreneur. Like I'm going to call it what it was, right? I would sit there, I interact with my clients, but I would sit behind my computer and just want to like work, right? I wouldn't engage in like outside of like, I'd be in sports leagues, things like that. But like my social life when it came to business was I interact with people in conferences. We'd stay in touch here and there, and then I'd be back in my home office working, kind of thing, right? And what I realized once I started kind of stepping out, if you want to think of it that way, was like there was so much I was missing from just having somebody that's relatable, that's doing something that I'm doing in this digital space, to be able to understand the same struggles or same things that we're going through. Because it's like my friends from college are
ding, 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 ding.
Right? And so it's like having that relatability is crucial, and being able to like have that support and share the wins and things like that, and people truly understand where you're coming from, right? And then obviously opportunities come out of that as well, right? Like, me and you got together, and now we're sitting here talking to each other on live, right? Things like that, right? And then the next, like my board of directors, this is like 5 to 6 people. And the reason I kind of created this in my life was because back in we're in 2020 now. So it's probably 2016, 2017 timeframe. I was just consuming and learning as much as I can about this and this, taking courses. And it's like, all of a sudden you're like, you get too many cooks in the kitchen. And you're just like, I just don't know.
I don't know
kind of thing. Right. And so I was like, well, how are successful businesses run? Well, you got the CEO of the business, and they have a board of directors, which is their boss. They're the ones that help shape and steer the ship of the business. I'm like, well, I need a board of directors. But I'm like, I'm not going to like ask somebody to be on my board of directors, right? But I can treat them like they're on my board of directors, right? So I limited it down to, I always have, it's like 5 to 7 people at one time. And it's always dependent on what season I'm in, right? What am I learning right now? Where am I at? And then they help me with my blind spots, right? And some people, we have one-on-one conversations. Some don't even know they're on my board just because I've invested in their course and I'm 100% focused on what they're teaching me at this point in time, or program, right? And that's where I'm learning and growing, right? So that is like my business friends and my business or my digital or board of directors are like my support system and my growth system for me personally in my business to make sure that I'm going on the right path. I have a support, guidance, and I'm continuing to grow and learn, right? And get myself pushed, right? And then when I look at it, oh, I'm sorry. Go
ahead. Go ahead and finish.
Oh, I was gonna say, because I can keep. You already know I can keep going. So,
well, I was gonna say I did a Facebook Live several months ago about how to build your board of directors, and I will link to that in the comments of this. And I do probably need to go back and update and talk about, because it is, you said something at the beginning that really, I think it was a large part of why I burned out in my business. Burned out a few years ago is that it's not just that I didn't have a board of directors. It is lonely at the top. It is very difficult for your friends and family that don't own a business or don't even just run a business, don't manage anything, which I was really young when I opened my first business. So my friends were not relating to me and my stress and what I was going through at all. Yep. So that made it even lonelier. Yep. Because there wasn't anybody to talk to. There wasn't anybody to vent to that didn't just think that I was being a pain in the ass or was being, just complaining. I think I came across to a lot of people as a whiner, just why can't you be grateful that, dude, you own and run a business? What is wrong with you? Yeah. It can't be that hard. God. Yeah. But no, it is lonely at the top when you can't, it's not like you can go talk to any coworkers. You don't have any. You can't confide in your employees. You can't confide in your managers. And you're touching on, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation about relationships, because that is definitely part of the conversation of not just having relationships with your customers, but finding relationships that support you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. I can't say that enough. And like I related it back to my burnout. It's because there wasn't an outlet for me. There was no support that I eventually I crumbled. I gave everything, just kind of collapsed. Yep. So because there was nothing to support it. There was nothing to support me. Yep. No, and I think that is an imperative. So, kind of moving on from that, it determines, I think, relationship. Oh, go ahead.
There's this one other thing I just wanted to tie to that, to just give you to give them a tangible example of how business friends and friends and two things, friends that are like in the same space as me, but also friends that have nothing to do with either who I serve or how I serve or what we do, but they're just in business in general. But I had a friend reach out to me and let me know about a speaking opportunity. Right. It's like, hey, there's a speaking opportunity. They're like, we think you would be perfect for this, just knowing who you are. And we just because they know me. Right. And that led me to halfway around the world to go speak at a Facebook conference. Right. Which then from that conference led to a whole bunch of business opportunities out of that. Right. So so me building a relationship just with a business friend who knew how I was, knew kind of what I did. And we knew of each other and we've helped and supported each other. And it's like when something popped up in their world, they're like, well, I know somebody who'd be good fit for that, which then led to me doing this and then all this up transparent. So it's just like, you don't know what you don't know. And there's a great quote from Steve Jobs from his famous Stanford speech, right? Where he talks about you can't see the dots looking forward. You can only see the dots looking backwards. Right. And so the reality comes down to, you don't know what's going to happen by a seed that you plant today. But then when things happen, you reflect, you're like, well, I see that happened because of that and that and that. You can start tracing it back. And then you're like, well, whatever the input was for that, I should just be doing more of that, because you can see what the output can be. Right. And so that's where people, I don't want to say they go about it wrong, but they do about it with the alternative motive, where it's just like, I just really, truly enjoy meeting new people and learning about their business and learning about their experience, because I've been in a lot of spaces, corporate, nonprofit, startup, big company, small company, entrepreneur, etc. And I understand my whole experience, my journey. There's bits and pieces that I can pull from each of that allow me to still continue to be successful today. And then I can work on it. And it's the same thing when I meet somebody and talk about their business. Like I was talking with somebody who has a brick and not going to say brick and mortar, but they run a marijuana farm in Oregon. And I'm like, I'm just like, I'm curious about that industry because I invest in some things and like that, right?
Can you invite me, by the way? I'm sure there's some other people that would like to get this.
But I say that because it's like learning about like how do they set this up, like how do like where like from the seed to the growth, like learning that whole industry. It's like I'm seeing this different system. Like, well, that's how they do an efficient process over here. Well, how do I take that process and translate it to something online that I could potentially put into a marketing campaign? Right. That's where it's just like diversify your relationships is what I'm really getting down to, because it's so important to have that diversity.
Point. Yeah. I mean, and another thing you reminded me of and what you just said, and my dad used to say this to me all the time, and I used to roll my eyes at him, but I'm sorry, I'm writing down what you just said.
No, you're fine.
He used to tell me not to be careful, not to burn any bridges, because you just never know when somebody's going to step in to help you, or step up to support you, or turn out to have the answer or solution to a problem, that you have. And I don't think I truly I understood what he was saying, but I don't think I appreciated that until I became a business owner. Like just that whole concept of people just coming out of the woodwork that I never would have expected to be supportive of what I was doing. I knew people thought I was crazy, but supportive was another thing.
Yes. Right? Yes. And everything's a small world, right? Like if you burn a bridge, I'm telling you, it's 6 degrees of separation, right? It's connected somehow, some way. And the thing is, once your reputation's ruined, that's a tough thing to come back from, right?
And I'm embarrassed to admit that, with my burnout, I burned a lot of bridges. I mean, I was just so tired and so fatigued and so angry and resentful and all the other things that were happening to me at that point, that I probably said some not so nice things to some people, which, hey, I own that. And if you're watching, I apologize. You've probably blocked me. I don't know. But yeah. I'm different now. Give me a second chance, please. What I want to ask you, that I think a lot of, especially if you're an introvert or you're not somebody that's naturally prone to making, I don't want to say making friends or establishing, connection. How do you cultivate relationships? What do you do? Is it something that you can pinpoint? I think too, it's also something that's just innately you, but.
I think, I would say there's introvert tendencies in me, but I'm definitely, if I tell you I'm an introvert, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy. But that's where, for me, I truly just enjoy people, being around people and interacting with people. So I'm not going to say that's an advantage, but it's just that's something I don't have to worry too much about, in my personal world. Right. But in general, it all comes down to this, right? Mm-hmm. True relationships are built on trust, right? That's all it comes down to. Right. And so if you think about this, and we can tie this back to business, this is a know, like, and trust factor if you want to talk about on the consumer side too. But if I'm just talking about just business relationships in general, or any relationships, it's built on mutual trust, right?
Right.
And so if there's any hints in the early, the beginning of this relationship, if there's any hints of a lack of trust, that relationship is already set up for failure, right? And you got to think about this from a business side. So if you come with somebody and you make it about you or how they can do something for you, you've already started off on the wrong foot, right? Yeah. So the reality that it comes down to that is one, never look at trying to sell anything in any relationship, right? If you have a truly genuine interest in that person, in that product, in their story, in their experience, and you're a journalist, so you know this stuff. It's if you can start just engaging and pulling that out of them so you can get to know more about them, that trust factor is going to start building up, right? So that's one thing. I always have that frame of mind. Is if I want to spend the time and effort to build a relationship, I want to be genuinely interested in this person or curious about this person or whatever, right?
100%.
Because that's what it comes down to as well, as quality over quantity. We talk about this all the time, but when it comes to truly build a relationship, it takes time and it takes effort. We're not going to sugarcoat it, right? Because so if you're going to say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And so the reality comes down to it is this worth the investment from your perspective right now to build that relationship? Not looking at it as what can I get from it, but am I interested in this, right? So that's the first thing that I always kind of like gauge is like, is this of interest to me? Because if not, I'm probably going to lose interest at one point in time, right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing I'm always looking at is like, well, how can I help this person? And not saying, how can I give them my time or how can I give them access to me or my agency or whatever, but legitimately like, how can I help or support this person? And so, for example, if I'm going to build a relationship, let's say with somebody that I'm interested in that's running a business, right? I'm going to say, well, you know how I can help that person very easily? I can engage with their content, right? Yeah. I can just go like their content, leave my thoughts on it, ask a question about it, right? Just simple things like that to say, you know what, I'm just going to support you. I'm going to click the button below when you tell me to click it, right? Because I'm here to support you because I understand if I do that, it's gonna give you a little boost in your content, right? And that's going to help you out, right?
Yeah,
I know that I do that, but that's just one thing that I might do for them, right? The other thing you start thinking about this is like, I look at my bookshelf, right? And I look at the courses that I've taken, or I've looked at a product that's helped me or a service. Let people know how their stuff has helped you. I'll send somebody just a quick email, say, hey, I read your book. And be specific and personalize it. So you're not, and this is why I never cold email. I never everything is personalized. Like when I'm building when I want to spend and invest time relationship, but I tell people, hey, I read your book, chapter 4. This was a game changer for me. Here's how it helped me. Here was the result of that. Or, hey, I took your course. Here's how it helped me. Why? Because I understand they can use it as a testimonial. They want to know how their stuff has helped because I can help them. My testimonial can help them sell more of it because I'm a third-party testimonial. So thinking about ways of how can I help somebody that's going to start getting on the radar, start taking that step into their universe, right? And I'm a big believer, like everything is energy and like once again, they might not be aware you're doing this, but you're just planting that seed. And like I said earlier, that 1% every time, just do something 1% more, you're going to get the result that you want, right? And so like early on, and I don't know, like if you have service people on here, I'm always talking from mindset, but like early on, it doesn't matter what business, but you always got to tell yourself this too. You have to do things unscalable to get scalable, right? So when somebody is like, well, Jordache, like, I don't want to sit there and personalize emails to 50 people. And I'm like, well, why are we talking about 50 people? Pick one person and do it. It's more about consistency versus volume when it comes to relationship building, right? Consistency, personalization, because people want to interact with you. They don't want to interact with your email service provider. They don't want to interact with your email sequence, right? Or when you just blast a whole bunch of people, they want to know, how are you interested in me? Because that's how we're all humans. Like we're ourselves as the most important person in our world. Like, let's be honest, right? So when somebody's going to come to me and say like, I have genuine interest in you, Jordache, I'm like, well, cool. Let's talk. I can talk about me all day long. Like, what do you want to talk about? Right. But I say that because when you start thinking about it from their perspective and say, how can I help them? How can I serve them? How can I give them a boost? How can I basically help them grow their business or whatever their ultimate goal is? Yeah. Start helping them. When you start helping people are going to like, hey, he's a nice guy. Or, hey, that was cool. I appreciate it. I never even asked for that. I never thought about that, right? I'm so glad he did that. Now it spawned on me. Maybe I should ask for more testimonials from my customers, right? And
are you listening to this, people? Because you can like my page and start interacting more with my posts. Let's start engaging. Okay. Yeah.
But going back to what I was going to tell you about the service people, like when you're getting started and you need leads for your business or you need customers for your business or whatever, when you already have a pipeline of relationships built, like you can be like, hey guys, I got some spots open. Anybody interested in helping me? Not like to that level, but that's when you can start withdrawing, right? You're always depositing relationships. And then at some point you can eventually take a withdrawal, right? Right. And I'm dead serious. And I still do this to the day, not to the extent, but every day I would start 10 new conversations with somebody. 10 new every day. That was my daily task. Start 10 new conversations with people. And
where do you find those 10 people?
Facebook groups. And, okay. So here's the thing. Like this is early on. So basically early on, meaning like 2.5 years ago, right? When I got back in the agency game. And what I would do is I whittled it down to the core like Facebook group people that I was in. And then we would just start did start interacting, right? And we would just, I'm always very cautious of like, I never go into groups and try to pull leads or pull their audience. That person's done an amazing job of building that audience, but I'm going to go in there and we're just going to hang out in that group and we're going to engage in that group. I try not to take conversations out of that early on, right? But so we're going to start just having conversations, and naturally enough people are going to be like, well, hey, I just shoot you a message, direct messenger. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was going to tie this back about your burnout. Like, relationship got to the point where I brought on a partner into my agency, right? Not doing a lone wolf entrepreneur or anything, right? That we complement each other very, very well. You know how I found this partner? We were in the same mastermind a little over a year ago, that then we started just talking the same mastermind. We were in the same Facebook group. We kept engaging in the same Facebook group. We lost touch for like 5 months. One day I hit him up. I said, hey, what you up to these days? And then we jumped on a call, and then we started talking, and we started working on a project together. Then it turned into a couple more projects. Next thing you know, I'm like, hey, let's do this together. Right.
That's awesome.
And so going in like the Facebook groups. Now I'll tell you right now, paid groups are always better than free groups to build quality relationships with people, because there's more quality people in there. But Facebook groups, LinkedIn, forums, anything like that, I would start. Okay. That's where I would start, just hanging out with people. And it's like if I went to a bar, that's our bar where we just go hang out, have a couple drinks. We might share a snack. We might just see you next weekend at the bar, right? And we just come hang out. Then eventually,
like, beer.
Yeah. And then it's like one day be like, yo, like, you want to go catch the basketball game? Well, let's go over here. AKA, you want to jump in Messenger? Let's chat. Or you want to jump on Zoom? Let's chat a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So but it was always like, I'm dead serious. I used that in the beginning when I started my agency again. What am I going to bring to, like, how do I want to serve my clients that I'm looking to get right now? And it was like, well, I have a lot of skill sets. So I would just start talking to people. Eventually it would lead to direct messaging conversations. Eventually it would lead to Zoom. And then I'd be like, well, what are you struggling with? Oh, that's what you're struggling with? Cool. I got you. I can do that for you. And then I did that for a couple times. And then I was like, I see a pattern working. Then it just goes off from there. So all I'm saying is, if you can create a consistent pattern in your life of just saying something that you can stick with, that you can do every single day or every single other day, something that you can build a habit of just starting a conversation with somebody or picking back up a conversation. And I still do this where I'm like, I haven't talked to this person in 3 months. So I'm just going to shoot a message. Hey, what's up? Just checking in on you. How you doing? Right. And just checking in on people. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just like, because I know that relationships like don't happen overnight. So you always got to, like, I'm in the process. And this is so funny that when you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago about doing this live, it's funny because just like you have a CRM in your business, I'm in the process of building like my personal CRM. So it's a way, because one of the things I've realized I have not done a good job of like my personal relationships is just staying in touch with people, because I have so much other stuff going on. So I'm like, how do I create a system in my life so I don't have to worry about it so much, and I can be on, or I can just get reminded, hey, you need to check in with this person, Jordache. You haven't checked in with them in a while. So that's where it's like you can start using technology if you want to help foster relationships and master this stuff. And where it's just like, my really goal is I just want to have a whole bunch of friends in a whole bunch of places. So when we can start traveling again, I have a whole bunch of people I can go see.
Well, you can always come visit me in Dallas.
Come up 45.
Come on up. My dogs would love to meet you too. So you just gotta love dogs to be in my house.
and actually, I see a comment real quick from Tamisha. I love Tamisha too.
Yeah, I do too. Could bring her into the conversation.
But she brings up a good. We were talking about burning bridges. She's like, I generally try not to burn bridges. So, or I might have to cross again, but sometimes you got to. And I think that last part is very, very important. But where it's like, sometimes you have to end relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships have seasons, right? Just like everything else, things have seasons, right? And so if things are toxic, things are draining for you, whatever, it's like, sometimes you got to let it go. Now there's graceful ways to do it.
You're bringing me to a question. I was going to use her comment actually to segue to another question.
I'm ruining everything for you. I'm sorry.
You just run this show, Jordache. This is your live. This is your
My name is Jordache Johnson. Welcome to Witty Entrepreneur. I'm going to have Jennifer Bassman on as my guest today.
I love it. You can fill in anytime. I should have guest hosts. So you take a vacation. Yeah. I'm gonna have guest witty entrepreneurs. I like it.
Takeovers.
This is gonna happen. I'm working on this. I was gonna ask you, back boundaries obviously is my big thing. Creating boundaries, having boundaries, and enforcing boundaries. Tamisha, no, that was him, Tamisha.
That's my fault.
That was him. I wasn't ignoring you. First of all, he likes to talk, and second of all, I had a plan for your comment. All good. This is live. This is what it's about.
It's about.
But I love boundaries. I am a big fan of creating boundaries, enforcing boundaries, especially with relationships. Just how do you create boundaries, or how do you let other people know what your boundaries are as you're creating these new relationships so that you don't get taken advantage of? Yes. I know that is something I am very leery of. Yes. When you have a business that people, they just think it's fun and it's cute. And, I ran into that a lot with my boarding facility. People didn't mind taking advantage of that. And I let them. Yeah. How do you create that boundary? Like, how do you not only communicate it but enforce it?
Yeah. So
on Tamisha's comment, sometimes you got to burn bright, because sometimes relationships turn toxic. People. She makes a great point. Sometimes you got to cut people off. They violate a boundary. They violate the rules or the terms of your friendship, or what your actual connection is. And I think that's a great question to ask.
No, it is. And it's a very important question to ask, because if you don't, people will take energy. If you give people an inch, they're going to take a foot. You give people a foot, they're going to take 6 feet, right? That's just the nature of it, right? And so for me, and it depends on kind of what relationship we're talking about. Like when I'm talking from a client's relationship, like how they're going to get access, like we're just very, very clear and transparent up front. Like it's just like, this is what it is. This is how we work, right? But it's just like, well, also when I'm building a relationship with, a business friend or a friend or whatever, it's like one of the things that I struggled with for a while is I just wanted to help anybody and everybody that I could, right? Anybody that came in there's like, hey, Jordache, can you help me with this? I'm like, yes, let's do that, right? And then what somebody, one of my business friends as well, somebody on my business or my board of directors was like, yo, like you got to stop, because there's never going to be a point in time because no one's not going to want to take free help, and they're just going to continue to abuse you for that, right? And so when I started reframing my mind, where I'm like, if I say yes to this person, I said this earlier, and then I'm saying no to something else, I'm actually saying no to people who I truly have a responsibility for, which is either my people, my clients that are paying my agency, or whether it's my employees that I got to pay, my paychecks, whether it's my wife, because I have to work an extra 2 hours tonight, because I took something else on that I probably shouldn't have. So it cost her time then. So when I started reframing and like, well, damn, like, well, they're not more important than my wife. They're not more important than my clients. Not saying they're not important, but that's where it was. It started allowing me to know, and this is what I was going to say first, you have to know your boundaries before you can communicate your boundaries.
Yes.
Right? And so I didn't even know my boundaries. I was just, what's up? How can I help you? Cool. You want to jump on Zoom for 15 minutes?
Come on.
3 hours later, we're still on Zoom. And I'm like, and they're like, all right, cool. Thanks, Jordache. And I'm like, cool, thanks. We're all good. I helped you. We're excited. Oh, I got to go back and do my work now. Right?
Yeah.
So that's where, so for me, it's one, knowing what my boundaries are. And then something we talked about earlier, knowing my value. When I know that if I go give an hour of my time, I know how much that's costing my business. I know how much that's costing my clients, right? And not saying that I want to help people, but sometimes I have to learn how to say no, because if I don't, it's actually costing me more by saying yes, right? And so, but if I don't know what I'm saying, like what I'm losing out on by saying yes, I don't know that cost. So if I don't know that cost, I can't communicate that or stand firm in my boundaries, because my emotional side is going to come back to me and be like, oh, but they're a local business. No, like this happened to me. Like there was a local restaurant here that me and my wife loved. And I'm like, I don't serve local businesses anymore. I haven't done that in years, but I'm like, oh my gosh, they need so much help. I don't want them to go out of business because I like their food so much. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's like, Jordache, what the hell? Like, why? Like, why would you go take the time and to self, like, I get why you want to, because you love small businesses and you love the restaurant, but like, you got people paying you lots more money than he could ever pay you. You can help a lot more people. So it's just like, that's where the emotional side comes into play, and then my logical, but I don't have anything to base that logical decision off of.
Yeah.
Right? But
right.
So one thing that I always, so here's a couple other things too, though, is one thing that I'm bringing in my life is like, let me get back to you. When somebody asks me for something, I don't have to answer them right away. Let me get back to you. And then let me take a second and a breath and let me reevaluate either my time, my schedule, whatever my priorities are. And then I feel a lot more comfortable to say no, because I have a reason about saying no, versus if I just say no right off the bat, it's going to come off as like, well, damn, Jordache, like, I thought you were here to help me. Like, it's going to come off negative versus if I say, hey, Jen, I would love, or Jennifer, I would love to help you out, but I'm not going to be able to because I have to go. I have a doctor's appointment and I got to go do this. I hope you understand. Let's figure something out in the future. Right. Versus if you say, hey, George, you want to be on live? No. Okay. Sorry. What did I do to offend you? Right. And so that's where it's like being able to, and this goes back to like burning bridges. There's a graceful way to say no. Right. But if you, and it goes back to like, give people a reason why you're saying no. That's something that's very key. Don't just say no. Give someone a reason. Not that you owe them a reason, but just let them know why. That's how you salvage relationships, when you have to say no to somebody that you really care about.
The timing's not right. It's not that you're not interested. It's just the timing's not right, or got imperative priority in front of you. And I think that's really hard for a lot of us, but that's something that I teach people. I may as well just put you as a co-author on my book, because it's something I talk about is when you say no, it's how you say no. It's not the word itself. It's how you say it. If you just no, okay. To some people that they take offense to that, to others, they, whatever, it's slides off their, back, their head, whatever you want to say. But it's, hey, I would love to help you with that, but I actually have to be at X, Y, and Z right now. Or, can we schedule that for another time? It's not that I don't want to do it. I just can't do it right in the second. So, and text messaging is one of those things that I always cost, people, we're such an instantaneous, like, what's the right? Yeah. Instant gratification, and we think we have to answer people right now, right this second. And I know people get frustrated with me because I don't always immediately answer text messages or messenger messages. If I let it go overnight, I kind of get a Mayday response. But once you get to know me, that's normal. That's not me saying no or ignoring you. That's pretty normal. That's just me being a certain generation. Maybe, I don't know. But no, we feel like we have to jump on things right away. But if you took a breath and you took a beat and then you said, no, but,
Exactly. So
that's a great point.
I'll tell you right now, one, you need a messenger bot so you can let them know when you're going to get back to you, when they can get back to you. So that's what you need. But
okay.
I'm just joking. But the other thing I was legitimately what I was going to say though, because I love what you just said, is because you have to ask yourself why, what's stopping you from saying no, or what's holding you back from saying no, right? Because when you think about why, because I'm saying this because there's a lot of thoughts going through my head right now, is because when I said no to people, I felt like I was disappointing them, and I felt like they wouldn't like me, or I felt like I was not setting them up for failure, but I was letting them down. But when I sat there and said, our relationship's not built on me saying yes to them all the time. It's not, and my value to them is not by me saying yes all the time to them, right? And so when I can sit there and say, when I can disconnect myself from my value or my confidence or my self-worth from that situation, then I can say, okay, I don't have to worry about what they're going to think of me. I can legitimately just process, can I actually say yes to this? And does it actually fit, right? Because you don't, there's that mental side of it, why you have to ask yourself why you're afraid to say no sometimes. And usually more often than not, it's the fear of disappointing somebody.
Right. Yeah. And if people's worth is based on you saying yes, we got some other issues.
Some other issues too. You got some other issues. But Oh, the other thing I was going to add as well to that, because you got me thinking about like from the business side, is like giving away too much. Like as an agency owner, it's like I could sit there and we could sit there and brainstorm, come up with the strategy for your business right now. And it's like, well, cool, like good luck, right? So I always like, one of the things I always think about is, has somebody already invested in me with something I'm about to share with this person, right? Because I want to stay in integrity, right? Because I don't want to, and I'm not saying you like, oh, I'm always gonna have to charge for that, because some things just evolve. But I also sit there and say, like, why am I going to give this away for free when I have somebody who's already invested in me?
Yes.
The same result or the same thing, right? And then it's just not fair. I want to put my head on the pillow at night. That's my kind of litmus test.
Yeah. Mine's karma. My litmus test is karma.
Yeah.
People really invested in me when I first got started. And so I feel like it's not just my duty, but my obligation to pay it forward for other business owners and other entrepreneurs. It's not that I give away the farm or I give away proprietary information or anything like that, but it's just something I feel is bad karma. If I don't do something to, help somebody else, but there's a limit, like I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars or invest time I don't have. Or I should say I'm not going to invest time or money I don't have.
Yeah.
But, stick, like you said, watching their videos or, stopping into their restaurant to have a meal or, stopping into their shop to buy some, I think that's super important. 100%. I want to ask you, we're coming, I can't believe we've been talking, but see, this is how addictive you are. This is why I'm going to start calling you caffeine, because caffeine's addictive. You're just talking to you is just addictive. So, you and I are on an online, we're in a digital space. And I think that is, even if you're a brick and mortar business owner and you're watching this, we primarily now we connect or we communicate through technology. So we're using phones, we're texting, we're emailing, we're using social media. What can we do to seem more genuine in these? Because that's part of building a relationship, is that genuine connection, right? Look like our real self so that our personality comes through. And then I'm going to ask you too, because I have a very sarcastic sense of humor. A very dry sense. And I make jokes about everything. It's never anything personal. It's just, I got a smart ass comment for everything.
Yep.
The whole vault of them. I mean, I've avoided making at least like 3 dozen since we got on this live, by the way. I'm really proud of myself. This is how much editing I'm doing.
You don't edit yourself too much now.
No, but my sense of humor doesn't always translate.
Yeah.
So and I'm very cognizant of that. And it's been really hard. Too, because it doesn't always, the jokes don't always land, or somebody doesn't always know that I'm joking. So how do we, because we're communicating through technology, how do we make a genuine connection with people? Yeah,
totally. It's a reality, and it's a reality we're gonna continue to live in right now, right? Mm-hmm. So you always look at, like, I always look at it like, there's always, if you look at any industry, there's always transitional periods, right? And so in this case, like the way that we communicate and our style and our preference of communication as society is changing. And some of it, we got forced to in the last few months for various reasons, right? And so when you look at the mediums change, or the platform has changed, but the underlying principles of how do you build a relationship have not changed, right? So it's just like, you just got to do maybe different things, right? So like right now, like I'm looking right at the camera, right? I'm giving you eye contact right now, right? It's the same thing. If I was sitting there in person, I would give you eye contact right now, right? And like when it comes down to, I'm a big believer of nonverbals. So I always prefer video over anything else when I'm communicating, right? I hate phone calls. I text, instant message or direct message, and everything else things can be taken out of context, or things can't be communicated as effectively. So depending on the relationship, depending on this, I'm always trying to jump on a call, because I can see that person. I can see how they're responding. I can see what their facial expressions are. I can match their tone of voice and how they're going up, depending on what we're talking about. Like all this stuff, that feedback you get by being able to see that person is something you're going to miss that we miss out from that face-to-face interaction, right? But that's why video is as close as we can get to it, right? But there's still a screen between us, right? So when like I'm always thinking about if I'm sitting down at a coffee shop or sitting down in person with this person, what kind of interact? How would we talk about? Like you see, like I talk with my hands a lot. That's how I talk in person.
You're kidding. I never do that.
Right? And so it's just like nothing, like where people get in trouble with is when they're like, oh, I got to be on camera. I'm like, oh, let's just, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Here. Like, what's in my background? It's like, just be yourself, right? And it's just like how you would interact with somebody. And obviously be yourself to the point where what kind of relationship and who you're talking with, right? Like I talk maybe a little bit differently on a Facebook Live than I'm going to talk when I'm negotiating a deal, for something else, right? And in the business side of things, right? It's like, it might not be. So you got to know your setting, know the relationship and the things you're doing. But it all comes down to the underlying principles of communication, eye contact, be receptive. Don't talk about yourself. It's all about them, right? Engage with them. Be quiet, listen more. That's something I always got to work on, right? And so it's just like those same principles of building having good communication and building a relationship is key. Now, the beautiful thing about technology, I'm not gonna say the beautiful thing, the opportunity that came out of the things that we've gone through this year, Zoom is now a verb. You want to Zoom? I'm telling you this before, because last year when I'd be like, hey, you want to jump on, I'd say, you want to jump on a video call. Or, hey, let's jump on a video call and let's chat. Now it's like, hey, you want to Zoom? No, people know what Zoom means.
Yeah, and it's not so far-fetched.
It's not so far-fetched. And people have already, and I'm telling you, this is like when things started going, like when everybody was in lockdown earlier this year, and like my wife she'd be working from home. And I would tell her, I'm like, man, people are about to struggle with one, working from home, and then two, being able to interact on video, because we've been living this for years. So we've already gone through that trial period of like, oh, I don't want to worry about what I look like on camera. Or I'm like, oh, I'm shy, or I'm going to be on a video call and keep my camera off because I don't want to be on camera because I don't like how I look. Well, why are you looking at yourself on the camera? You should be looking at the people that are talking or looking at the camera when you're talking. You shouldn't be looking at yourself, right? And so all these little things are like, the platforms change, but the principles haven't changed. You just got to adapt them to that. Now, going back to your question and statement around like your type of personality and stuff, I would actually argue like that's who you are. So you like, the thing is, you got to lean in and embrace that, because if you don't, you are trying to build a relationship with somebody with not your true self. And then what happens is, then you get to keep that relationship going. You got to continue to not be your true self. That gets exhausting. That gets tiring.
Yes.
So the reality comes down to, and I'm telling you, like, I used to try to be like, oh, Jordache, like, don't be so energetic, like, calm down, like, don't overwhelm people, whatever. Now I'm like, yo, like, here's what you get. Like, I'm sorry, but the thing is, but when you embrace who you are, you embrace your quirkiness, you embrace your weirdness, you embrace your smart aleckness, you're gonna weed out the people that you would have to build a false relationship with, and clear the room for the universe to send the people that are actually going to be attracted to you. Yeah. Those are those genuine relationships that you're going to build. So if someone doesn't get your joke, they're probably not going to want to hang out with you. If they don't like dry things, they're not going to hang out. If someone doesn't like high energy, there's a good chance at some point in time we interact, I'm going to be a little higher energy and I might annoy them or I might overwhelm them or whatever. So I also understand that sometimes I got to bring my voice down and we got to have a real heart-to-heart conversation. Let's talk about something serious, right? So so I would encourage you to lean in and embrace that to your fullest, because that is truly who you are. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you unique. And that's what draws people to you. But on the flip side, you also have to be understanding and aware that you have to control that. Yeah. You have to control when that happens. You have to control.
Read the room.
Yeah. And so that's your responsibility. Your responsibility is not on how people are going to respond to you. Your responsibility is to be yourself every day you wake up. And then your responsibility is, how do I control who I am and how I'm interacting? So I make sure that, once again, I can make sure my message gets to that person, but at the same time, I can help that person, serve that person, build a relationship with that person.
True.
So don't build false relationships. It's not going to end well.
Okay, I will stay funny then, my friend.
Please do.
No, that's a great point. I never thought about it in terms of I'm just not being myself, or I'm not being who I really am. And that does wear you out over time. It's not good. Yep. It's not good.
No.
I have learned a lot. This is why I genuinely love doing these guest spots, is because I always walk away just truly enlightened. And
this was fun.
I mean, it's just, I'm so, like you were talking about earlier, part of, wanting to build relationships is truly being interested in other people. And I am just genuinely interested in other people. I'm interested in what they do, who they are, how they got to where they are, why they do what they do. I love human behavior, period. That's how I got into the Strength Finders coaching, which, there were like 100 Strength Finders moments popped into my head as we were talking about this. And I really need to learn how to share those more, because it really is like, my activator has been top of mind lately because I've had some new projects pop up. And when you're an activator, you just want to activate, you want to get on it. You never finish anything. But you don't finish a lot of things. And you and I were part of a workshop in the last 2 days that, boy, did I come out of it with like a project list, of things I was excited to start, and just kind of going, okay, now I have to activate some other strengths so that I finish it, like get it to the end. Yep. But no, I always learn, I have people on as guests that just truly fascinate me, that I know I'm going to learn from. I'm friends with people and build relationships with people because I learn from others. Yep. That was a late in life lesson. But it really does interest me. And I really want to thank you for your time and your sharing your expertise in this. I think some people may have looked at the topic of how to build relationships and thought,
talk about networking.
Yeah, but it really, I think, like I made the joke earlier, we don't talk about it again, after kindergarten, but it truly is something that we need to investigate and, brush up some of those skills, because as you are describing and you're showing us, relationships are our business. I mean, it's really literally the thing that we sell, no matter what it is we sell. Yep. So 100%. That is, that line earlier of relationships is blood running through your business. That's so startling and great. I really like that. But thank you so much for your time today. We've kept you for an hour, and I know you're a busy guy. You've been so generous with your thoughts and your energy. And is there anything, you want to add, anything we've not touched on?
No, the only thing I would say, because you did, as you were just talking, it just brought, like you're saying, you don't talk about this like past a young age. But what you were saying though is, if you want to start building relationships, embrace that curiosity. Just they bring out that inner child back in yourself, and just be like, I want to learn. I want to learn from people. I want to get to know people. I want to learn what they're doing. If you can embrace that mindset, you can become a lifelong learner, and you become a lifelong learner, you're always going to want to build more and more relationships. Right. Yes. But yeah, that's very true. It's been an honor. Thank you for having me. I've had a blast. I love engaging with you. I love chatting with you.
Thank you. Likewise. And if you want to learn more about Jordache, learn more about what he does, especially, these messenger bots, or you have some questions that maybe, you were inspired by that we didn't get to. I'm so proud of myself. I was on top of it this go around. I actually, in the comments, posted Jordache's contact information, where you can find him, where you can follow him. But you better follow me first. Yes. I'm totally kidding, people. But no, it's I'm just having so much fun with you. And I know people that are, experiencing you for the first time, boy, did they get a jolt of energy. You need to come with a disclaimer somewhere. And I love it. My favorite thing about you. I almost feel like I need a morning channel of Jordache somewhere, where I wake up and boom, there he is.
Right now, if that's the case, just remember that that's me embracing myself. So remember to continue to embrace yourself with your smart aleckness, because I love that.
You got it.
Awesome.
Well, thanks to everybody for joining us today. I'm super glad that you were here. I'm so proud that you were here. As always, if you need to find me, you can find me at jenniferbassman.com, or my email is jennifer@jenniferbassman.com, or you can reach out to me through this Facebook page as well. Please share, like, comment, bring your friends. I really want to build a supportive community around us of people that get us, that get our sense of humor and get our caffeinated personalities.
Yes.
That is really important to me. And I'm glad that you were here. And here's your challenge, here's your homework till the next time we're on is who can you build some relationships with that will make a difference, not only in your personal life, but in your professional life? How can you build some relationships that are going to support you? And as Jordache has reminded us, how can you build relationships that support other people as well?
Yep.
Love that thought. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a good one. Tap, 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 tap.